Hi, it's Brett, and I'm back again with another episode of Chasing the Checkers. It's USSA's opportunity to talk with some of the most unique personalities we have in ice oval racing. And today we have a really fortunate opportunity to speak to someone we don't see very often here in the Midwest, but has made an impact in the champ racing field, along with a lot of experience in the vintage world. So welcome to number 22, Andrew Darraugh. How are you, Andrew?
Not bad. You, Brett?
I'm good. Tell us, first of all, right where you're from.
I'm from Whitney, Ontario, Canada. It's kind of about 15 hours from Eagle River, right in between Toronto and Ottawa to the north.
Got it. So you're a long ways away.
Yep, quite a ways.
You are. What's the local racing circuit like over there? How far do you typically travel?
Our closest race, our home track, is Eganville. We're only about 45 minutes from there. That's always been our home race and my favorite race, to be completely honest. Then Valcourt, we're about 5 hours to there. We used to have a lot more circuit, like within the eastern side, but now it's kind of down to only a couple of races. And then I do go to Beausejour too. Last year I was out there for the fall race. I never made it to the March race, but yeah. So other than that, there's a smaller vintage circuit around here that I run a few races at when I can get to. It's OSOR, but usually we're pretty busy with the champ. So
sure. Yeah, understood. Your history is primarily vintage, is that correct? Am I understanding that right?
Originally I started out F500 and then went to champ, and then I took a bit of a break from racing altogether. Came back, ended up on an Arctic Cat champ sled. Started off with it in Beausejour, wrecked hard my first time on it. Wasn't really prepared for what I was getting myself into right off the bat there. And then that year I was approached by Randy Hazard to see if I'd be interested in racing vintage in the WC. So I showed up in Eagle River, drove out by myself. We just had our first daughter that year, and I couldn't get out to, like, my wife couldn't come, my daughter couldn't come. So I drove out myself to Eagle River and got on the sled for the first time, and everyone kind of looked at me different because I hadn't been there before.
Right.
I qualified for the WC and I finished third my first year on it. First time ever driving the sled. Yeah.
That's
and
fantastic.
then it was this past year I got back onto a champ sled. I ended up with Glenn Hart's sleds and started racing at Beausejour last year. It was my first race on them, and here we are.
Yeah, Glenn had some stout equipment, so if you're driving his horses, you've got something underneath you.
Yeah, the first day on it, we were actually out on a kitty cat test track on a lake in Manitoba. So we got out there, and I looked at the track, and I kind of laughed at Glenn. He goes, "So you got to learn somehow." So as soon as you touch the throttle, you're at the end of the straightaway. So it was definitely a handful. And then to show up onto the track at Beausejour for the first time with that sled was like, yeah, it works.
Right. Yeah, Glenn's a good guy. What's competition like out on the East Coast?
It's pretty stout. Most of our drivers are getting right there competitive with all the USSA guys now. Sabrina, Danik, Stephen Marquis when he was out there, Colt Delandria. We're all pretty good friends, but we're good and close. And Davis is coming up there now too. And our main races are competing with the USSA guys now. So they come to all our races in the East because we only have the two. And yeah, so we're racing side by side with them. So that's how we learned how to drive and where we are today.
Good. Obviously tracks come and go along the way. Tell me a racetrack you wish was back based on your experience.
There was one track in Quebec in Trois-Rivières, and it was Matt Schultz, who I think was the only guy from the USSA that showed up to that one. But it was probably the coolest track I've ever raced on. It was a banked horse racing track, but the bank was substantially more than Eagle. Yeah, like it was steep, and it was an awesome venue. It was kind of a casino and everything, so it was just unreal. But we haven't been back there. It would only happen one season, so
yeah. There's a lot of tracks that seem to hit and miss. I know it's a difficult thing to put a track together. If you don't have any experience running a venue like that, taking one shot at it without understanding the ramifications can be tough.
Yeah, for sure. It's a costly adventure, and one of the reasons I'm concerned about this season altogether too, because not having spectators and stuff, it's not easy to make money at those events.
No, not at all. I had an interesting conversation with John Henke, and I'm going to run it by you too, just because I thought how it turned out was kind of interesting. If you could have a small market advantage without anybody else knowing, would you prefer it in horsepower or in clutch secrets?
I'm going to say clutch secrets because, yeah, definitely clutch secrets.
Okay. So same scenario. Would you rather have it in studs and track or in front end ski suspension?
Traction.
Traction. So out of those four, horsepower, clutch, studs and track and skis, which one's most important to you as a driver?
Clutching.
It is.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't think the general population or the spectators would have any clue that it was that important to what you guys do.
Yeah, with me being both on vintage and modern, clutching for sure.
Oh, interesting.
It just, yeah.
It's good to know. Obviously, snowmobile racing is not a cheap endeavor, and especially you with travel and stuff like that. You've got to have a bunch of sponsors around it that help you through the season. If you'd like to share those with us, we'd love to hear about them a little bit.
Oh, definitely. So number one, my family and my wife, Tori, my crew, my dad, my wife, my mom, Craig and Norm and Gail, and the Hazard crew, of course, because I wouldn't even be where I'm at now without all those guys. Skidoo this year came on board with us, which is awesome.
Great.
Rogerson Logging, one of my good friends, helped us out last year, and this year because there's not much going on. I'm sure you'd be on my back, but Climb gear, the best gear ever. Hart Roofing, Woody's, and Ron Sutherland and 139 Designs.
Great, good to hear. If any other racers out there in that area know those people, certainly step up and help them. Support those businesses because they're really pushing for what we love to do as well. So
yeah,
important stuff. I got a question that came in. We're going to do just a few fun things here before we wrap it up. Somebody wants to know who your favorite vintage racer is.
I got a feeling I know who this is coming from too, but
you want to just give me some initials and I'll nod?
I'm pretty sure I know who it is, but he knows it's probably him, even though we fight all the time. I'm going to say Ryan Wolf and Matt Gady too, though. Yeah. He's a great guy and we're good friends. So, yeah.
What's your favorite hauler food?
What's that?
What's your favorite trailer food when you're at the track?
I don't really eat. That's one of my downfalls to racing. I don't eat a lot during the race day, but definitely breakfast. My wife usually makes me eat bananas. Okay. And then my mom usually has something going, soup or chili or something in the trailer. But
okay.
Yeah.
Are you one of those people who has a pretty structured race day? You have a format, you want to get up at a certain time, and do you stretch? Do you exercise before race day? What's your day like?
I'm up pretty early. I'm there when all of us go. I do stretch in the mornings, but I'm usually not the happiest person to be around either on race day.
I'll remember that.
Yeah.
All right. If you could race against one retired racer, line up next to him at the starting line, who would it be?
I'm going to say Dale Ritz.
Oh.
Dale's a pretty good friend, and he was a heck of a racer.
Yeah. Interesting. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And where'd the number 22 come from?
Actually, I played football in high school, and that was my jersey number. I was by far not a football player, but that was my jersey number. And when we first started racing, that's what I put on my sled, and it stuck.
Been there ever since.
Yep.
Well, you're an awfully good oval racer, so I just be proud of that number because it suits you well, and you've really done well with it. So
thank you.
As the next generation of racers come up, what's a tip from the champ division you think the racers at that young age need to be thinking about?
Number one, just don't overdo it to start, and make sure your setup is comfortable. Don't be trying to fight something that isn't working for you. If someone asks if it's working, tell them no. Okay. Make sure it's right so you're comfortable and you don't just keep driving something that's pushing or trying to high side on you, drive something comfortable. I made that mistake when I first started champ. My sled was always in a high side, and I just thought that was the way it needed to be. And boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I don't think you define a champ sled as comfortable, but there's a certain level of stability that you look for.
Yeah, once you get off a vintage sled onto a champ sled, though, that's the whole. It's definitely comfortable.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, with the way the schedule's working out this year, I don't know if you'll even get on a sled this year. Is there a possibility Beausejour happens in the future, or are you?
Mostly so. Our Eganville and Valcourt, obviously, for the champ is canceled. The only way I could get across the border is to fly and have someone haul our stuff. But owning a business and everything, I'm already having to take off about 16 days to come to Eagle because I was supposed to be there for both vintage and champ weekend. And then with our strict rules in Canada with COVID-19, we have to quarantine for 14 days. So with my business, it's not really possible. I can't make that happen. It's unfortunate, especially for all my sponsors and everyone wanting to watch me race this year, but it's the way it's going to be. And then we're also going into a 28-day lockdown starting on the 26th here now again. So it's going to get even worse. So
yeah, it's a tough year for everybody. And, we're trying to keep some things positive out here. We're trying to keep some racing moving forward. We're trying to keep, people engaged and stuff because we want to be back strong next year for sure. But that's going to take some work this year on all of our parts. So we certainly appreciate everything you're doing for us. So keep a good word out there for us. And it's been great to talk to you. You know the last question, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Reese's or Snickers?
Reese's, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Amen, right? I mean, is there any doubt?
100%. I don't like Snickers at all.
Yeah. That's I'm with you every day of the week. So
yeah.
All right. It's been great to talk to you. Have a good night.
Yeah. Thanks, Brett. Have a good night. Bye.